Ulysses, Chapter 15, by James Joyce. The Mabbott Street entrance of Nighttown, before which stretches an uncobbled tram siding set with skeleton tracks, red and green will-o'-wisps and danger signals. Rows of grimy houses with gaping doors. Rare lamps with faint rainbow fans. Round Rabiotti's halted ice gondola, stunted men and women squabble. They grab wafers between which are wedged lumps of coral and copper snow. Sucking, they scatter slowly. Children. The swan comb of the gondola, high-reared, forges on through the murk, white and blue under a lighthouse. Whistles call and answer. The call. Wait, my love, and I'll be with you. The answer. Round behind the stable. A deaf-mute idiot with goggle eyes, his shapeless mouth dribbling, jerks past, shaken in St. Vitus's dance. A chain of children's hands imprisons him. The children. Keithog, salute! The idiot lifts a palsied left arm and gurgles, Gahoot! The children. Where's the great light? The idiot gobbling, Gagahest! They release him. He jerks on. A pygmy woman swings on a rope slung between two railings, counting. A form sprawled against a dustbin and muffled by its arm and hat snores, groans, grinding, growling teeth, and snores again. On a step, a gnome, totting along a rubbish tip, crouches to shoulder a sack of rags and bones. A crone standing by with smoky oil lamp rams her last bottle in the maw of his sack. He heaves his booty, tugs askew his peaked cap, and hobbles off mutely. The crone makes back for her lair, swaying her lamp. A bandy child, asquat on the doorstep, with a paper shuttlecock, crawls, sliding after her in spurts, clutches her skirt, scrambles up. A drunken navvy grips with both hands the railings of an area, lurching heavily. At a corner, two night watch in shoulder capes, their hands upon their staff holsters, loom tall. A plate crashes. A woman screams. A child wails. Oaths of a man roar, mutter, cease. Figures wander, lurk, peer from warrens. In a room lit by a candle stuck in a bottleneck, a slut combs out the tats from the hair of a scrofulous child. Sissy Caffrey's voice, still young, sings shrill from a lane. Sissy Caffrey. I gave it to Molly because she was jolly, the leg of the duck, the leg of the duck. Private Car and Private Compton, swagger sticks tight in their oxters as they march, unsteadily, right about face, and burst together from their mouths. A volleyed fart, laughter of men from the lane. A hoarse virago retorts. The virago, signs on you, hairy ass. More power, the Cavan girl. Sissy Caffrey. More luck to me, Cavan, Cootehill and Bill Turbot. She sings, I gave it to Nellie to stick in her belly, the leg of the duck, the leg of the duck. Private Car and Private Compton turn and counter-retort, their tunics blood bright in a lamp glow, black sockets of caps on their blonde cropped poles. Stephen Dedalus and Lynch pass through the crowd, close to the redcoats. Jerks his finger. Wait for the parson. Private Car turns and calls, What ho, patron? Sissy Caffrey, her voice soaring higher. She has got it, wherever she put it, the leg of the duck. Stephen, flourishing the ash plant in his left hand, chants with joy the introit for Pascal time. Lynch, his jockey cap low on his brow, attends him, a sneer of discontent wrinkling his face. Stephen, Vidi aquam, egrandintiam de templo allateri dextro, alleluia. The famished snaggle tusks of an elderly bawd protrude from a doorway. The bawd, her voice whispering huskily, "Sst! Come here, I tell you. Maidenhead inside. Sst!" Stephen, altias aliquatulum, et omnes ad quos pervinet aqua ista. The bawd spits in their trail her jet of venom. Trinity Medical's fallopian tube, all prick and no pence. Edie Boardman, sniffling, crouched with Bertha Supple, draws her shawl across her nostrils. Edie Boardman bickering. "Anne," says the one, "I seen you up Faithful Place with your square pusher, the greaser off the railway, in his come-to-bed hat." "Did you?" says I. "That's not for you to say," says I. "You've never seen me in the man-trap with a married Highlander." Says I, "The likes of her, stag that one is. Stubborn as a mule, and her walking with two fellows the one time, Kilbride the engine driver and Lance Corporal Oliphant." Triumphaliter, salvi facti sunt. He flourishes his ash plant, shivering the lamp image, shattering light over the world. A liver and white spaniel on the prow slinks after him, growling. Lynch scares it with a kick. Lynch. "So that," Stephen looks behind, "so that gesture, not music, not odor, would be a universal language, the gift of tongues rendering visible not the lay sense, but the first enteleci, the structural rhythm." Lynch. "Pornosophical philotheology, metaphysics in Mecklenburg Street." Stephen. "We have show-ridden Shakespeare and hen-pecked Socrates. Even the all-wise Stagyrite was bidded, bridled, and mounted by a light of love." Lynch. "Bah!" Stephen. "Anyway, who wants two gestures to illustrate a loaf and a jug? This movement illustrates the loaf and jug of bread or wine in Omar." "Hold my stick." Lynch. "Damn your yellow stick, where are we going?" Stephen. "Lecherous lynx. To la belle dame sans merci, Georgina Johnson, ad diem qui laetificat in virtutem meam." Stephen thrusts the ash plant on him and slowly holds out his hands, his head going back till both hands are a span from his breast. Downturned, in planes intersecting, the fingers about to part, the left being higher. "Which is the jug of bread?" "It skills not. That or the custom house. Illustrate thou. Here, take your crutch and walk." They pass. Tommy Caffrey scrambles to a gas lamp, and clasping, climbs in spasms. From the top spur he slides down. Jackie Caffrey clasps to climb. The navvy lurches against the lamp. The twins scuttle off in the dark. The navvy, swaying, presses a forefinger against a wing of his nose and ejects from the farther nostril a long, liquid jet of snot. Shouldering the lamp, he staggers away through the crowd with his flaring cresset. Snakes of river fog creep slowly from drains, clefts, cesspools. Middens arise on all sides, stagnant fumes. A glow leaps in the south beyond the seaward reaches of the river. The navvy, staggering forward, cleaves the crowd and lurches towards the trap siding. On the farther side, under the railway bridge, Bloom appears, flushed, panting, cramming bread and chocolate into a side pocket. From Gillen's hairdresser's window, a composite portrait shows him gallant Nelson's image. A concave mirror at the side presents to him lovelorn, long-lost Lugubru Buluhum. Grave Gladstone sees him level, bloom for bloom. He passes, struck by the stare of truculent Wellington, but in the convex mirror grin unstuck the bonham eyes and fat cheek chops of Jolly Poldy, the Rix Dix Doldy. At Antonio Rabiotti's door, Bloom halts, sweated under the bright arc lamp. He disappears. In a moment he reappears and hurries on. Bloom. Fish and taters, and He disappears into Allhausen's, the pork butcher's, under the downcoming roll shutter. A few moments later, he emerges from under the shutter, puffing poldy, blowing bloom. In each hand he holds a parcel, one containing a lukewarm pig's cruw bean, the other a cold sheep's trotter sprinkled with whole pepper. He gasps, standing upright. Then, bending to one side, he presses a parcel against his ribs and groans. Bloom. Stitch in my side. Why did I run? He takes breath with care and goes forward slowly towards the lamp-set siding. The glow leaps again. What is that? A flasher? Searchlight. He stands at Cormac's corner, watching. Bloom. Aurora Borealis or a steel foundry? The Brigade, of course. South side, anyhow. Big blaze. Might be his house. Baker's Bush. We're safe. He hums cheerfully. London's burning, on fire, on fire. He catches sight of the navvy lurching through the crowd at the farther side of Talbot Street. I'll miss him. Run, quick. Better cross here. He darts across the street. Urchins shout. The urchins. Mind out, mister! Two cyclists with lighted paper lanterns a-swing swim by him, grazing him, their bells rattling. The bells. Halt-y-alt-y-alt-y-all. Bloom halts erect, stung by a spasm. Ow! He looks around, darts forward suddenly. Through rising fog, a dragon sand-strewer, travelling at caution, slews heavily down upon him, its huge red headlight winking, its trolley hissing on the wire. The motorman bangs his foot gong. The gong. Bang, bang, blah, bach, blah, da, boog, blue. The brake cracks violently. Bloom, raising a policeman's white-gloved hand, blunders stiff-legged out of the track. The motorman, thrown forward, pug-nosed on the guide wheel, yells as he slides over the chains and keys. The motorman. Hey, shit breeches! Are you doing the hat trick? Bloom trick leaps to the curbstone and halts again. He brushes a mudflake from his cheek with a parcelled hand. Bloom. No thoroughfare. Close shave that. But cured the stitch. Must take up Sando's exercises again. On the hands down, and sure against street accident, too. The providential. He feels his trouser pocket. Poor mama's panacea. He'll easily catch in track or bootlace in a cog. Day the wheel of the Black Maria peeled off my shoe at Leonard's corner. Third time is the charm. Shoe trick. Insolent driver. I ought to report him. Tension makes them nervous. Might be the fellow balked me this morning with that horsey woman. Same style of beauty. Quick of him all the same. A stiff walk. True words spoken in jest. That awful cramp in Lad Lane. Something poisonous I ate. Emblem of luck. Why? Probably lost cattle. Mark of the beast. He closes his eyes an instant. Bit light in the head. Monthly or effect of the other. Brain fog fag, that tired feeling. Too much for me now. Ow. A sinister figure leans on plaited legs against O'Byrne's wall. A visage unknown, injected with dark mercury. From under a wide-leaved sombrero, the figure regards him with evil eye. Bloom. Buenas noches, señorita Blanca. ¿Qué calle es esta? The figure, impassive, raises a signal arm. Password? Sred Mabot. Bloom. Merci, Esperanto. Slanliath, he mutters, Gaelic League spy, sent by that fire-eater. He steps forward. A sack-shouldered ragman bars his path. He steps left. Rag-sackman left. Bloom. I beg. He leaps right. Sag-ragman right. Bloom. I beg. He swerves, sidles, step aside, slips past and on. Bloom. Keep to the right, right, right. If there's a signpost planted by the touring club at Step Aside who procured the public boon, I, who lost my way and contributed to the columns of the Irish Cyclist, the letter headed in darkness, step aside. Keep to the right. Rags and bones at midnight. Offense more likely. First place murderer makes for. Wash off his sins of the world. Jack Caffrey, hunted by Tommy Caffrey, runs full tilt against Bloom. Bloom. Oh! Shocked on weak hams, he halts. Tommy and Jackie vanish there. Bloom pats with parcelled hands, watch fob. Pocketbook pocket. Purse book. Sweets of sin. Potato soap. Bloom. Beware of pickpockets. Old thieves dodge, collide, then snatch your purse. The retriever approaches sniffing, nose to ground. A sprawled form sneezes. A stooped, bearded figure appears garbed in long kaftan of an Eldrin Zion, and a smoking cap with magenta tassels. Horned spectacles hang down at the wings of the nose. Yellow poison streaks are on the drawn face. Rudolph. Second half crown wastes money today. I told you not go with drunken goy, ever. So you catch no money. Bloom. Hides the crubine and trotter behind his back, and crestfallen, feels warm and cold feet meet. Ja, equais, papachi? Rudolph. What you making down this place? Have you no soul? With feeble vulture talons he feels the silent face of Bloom. Are you not my son Leopold, the grandson of Leopold? Are you not my dear son Leopold, who left the house of his father and left the God of his fathers, Abraham and Jacob? With precaution. I suppose so, Father. Mosenthal, all that's left of him. Rudolph, severely. One night they bring you home drunk as dog after you spend your good money. What you call them running chaps? Bloom, in youth's smart blue Oxford suit, with white vest lips, narrow-shouldered and brown alpine hat, wearing gent's sterling silver Waterbury keyless watch and double curb Albert with seal attached, one side of him coated with stiffening mud. Harriers, Father. Only that once. Rudolph. Once. Mud head to foot. Cut your hand open, lockjaw. They make you kaput. Leopold and Ben. You watch them chaps. Bloom, weakly. They challenged me to a sprint. It was muddy. I slipped. Rudolph, with contempt. Goyim nachas. Nice spectacles for your mother. Bloom. Mama. Ellen Bloom, in pantomime Dane stringed mob cap, widow twankies, crinoline and bustle, blouse with mutton leg sleeves buttoned behind, grey mittens and cameo brooch, her plaited hair in a crispine net, appears over the staircase banisters, a slanted candlestick in her hand, and cries out in shrill alarm, "Oh, blessed Redeemer, what have they done to him? My smelling salts!" She holds up a reef of skirt and ransacks the pouch of her striped lay petticoat. A file, an Angus Day, a shriveled potato, and a celluloid doll fall out. Sacred Heart of Mary! Where were you at all? Bloom, mumbling, his eyes downcast, begins to bestow his parcels in his filled pockets, but desists, muttering. A voice, sharply. "Poldy!" Bloom. Who? He ducks and wards off a blow clumsily. At your service. He looks up. Behind her mirage of date palms, a handsome woman in Turkish costume stands before him. Opulent curves fill out her scarlet trousers and jacket slashed with gold. A wide yellow cummerbund girdles her. A white yashmak, violet in the night, covers her face, leaving free only her large dark eyes and raven hair. Bloom. Molly. Marion. Welly. Mrs. Marion, from this out, my dear man, when you speak to me. Satirically. Has poor little hubby cold feet waiting so long? Bloom shifts from foot to foot. No, not the least bit. He breathes in deep agitation, swallowing gulps of air, questions, hopes, crubines for her supper, things to tell her, excuse, desire, spellbound. A coin gleams on her forehead, on her feet are jeweled toe-rings. Her ankles are linked by a slender feather chain. Beside her a camel hooded with turban waits. A silk ladder of innumerable rungs climbs to his bobbing howdah. He ambles near with disgruntled hindquarters. Fiercely she slaps his haunch, her gold curb wrist-bangles angling, scolding him in Moorish. Marian, nebracada, femininum. The camel, lifting a foreleg, plucks from a tree a large mango fruit, offers it to his mistress, blinking his cloven hoof, then droops his head and, grunting with uplifted neck, fumbles to kneel. Bloom stoops his back for leapfrog. Bloom. I can give you, as your business manager, Mrs. Marian, if you... Marian. So, you notice some change. Her hands passing slowly over her trinketed stomacher, a slow, friendly mockery in her eyes. Oh, Poldy, you are a poor old stick in the mud. Go and see life. See the wide world. I was just going back for that lotion white wax, orange flower water. Shop closes early on Thursday, but the first thing in the morning, he pats Diver's pockets, this moving kidney. He points to the south, then to the east. A cake of new, clean lemon soap arises, diffusing light and perfume. The soap. We're a capital couple, our Bloom and I. He brightens the earth, I polish the sky. The freckled face of Sweeney, the druggist, appears in the disk of the soap's sun. Sweeney. 3 and a penny, please. Bloom. Yes, for my wife, Mrs. Marian. Special recipe. Marian. Softly. Poldy. Bloom. Yes, ma'am. Marian. Ti trema un poco il cuore? In disdain she saunters away, humming the duet from Don Giovanni, plump as a pampered poodle pigeon. Bloom. Are you sure about that voglio? The pronunciation. He follows, followed by the sniffing terrier. The elderly bawd seizes his sleeve, the bristles of her chin mole glittering. The bawd. 10 shillings a maidenhead, fresh thing was never touched. 15, there's no one. Only her old father, that's dead drunk. She points in the gap of her dark den, furtive, rain-bedraggled, Bridie Kelly stands. Hat Street. Any good in your mind? With a squeak, she flaps at her bat shawl and runs. A burly rough pursues with booted strides. He stumbles on the steps, recovers, plunges into gloom. Weak squeaks of laughter are heard. Weaker. The bawd, her wolf eyes shining. He's getting his pleasure. You won't get a virgin in the flash houses. 10 shillings. Don't be all night before the police in plain clothes see us. 67 is a bitch. Leering, Gertie McDowell limps forward. She draws from behind, ogling, and shows coyly her bloodied clout. Gertie. With all my worldly woods, I, thee, and thou, she murmurs. You did that. I hate you. Bloom. I? When? You're dreaming. I never saw you. The bawd. Leave the gentleman alone, you cheat. Writing the gentleman false letters, street-walking and soliciting. Better for your mother take the strap to you at the bedpost, hussy like you. Gertie to Bloom. When you saw all the secrets of my bottom drawer. She paws his sleeve, slobbering. Dirty married man, I love you for doing that to me. She glides away crookedly. Mrs. Breen, in man's frieze overcoat with loose bellows pockets, stands on the causeway, her roguish eyes wide open, smiling in all her herbivorous buck teeth. Mrs. Breen. Mr. Bloom coughs gravely. Madam, when we last had this pleasure by letter, dated the 16th instant. Mrs. Breen. Mr. Bloom. You down here in the haunts of sin? I caught you nicely, scamp. Bloom, hurriedly. Not so loud, my name. Whatever do you think of me? Don't give me away. Walls have ears. How do you do? It's ages since I... You're looking splendid, absolutely it. Seasonable weather we're having this time of year. Black refracts heat. Shortcut home here. Interesting quarter. Rescue of fallen women. Magdalene Asylum. I'm the secretary. Mrs. Breen holds up a finger. Now, don't tell a big fib. I know somebody won't like that. Oh, just wait till I see Molly. Slyly. Account for yourself this very minute, or woe betide you. Bloom looks behind. She often said she'd like to visit. Slumming. The exotic, you see. Negro servants in livery, too, if she had money. Othello, Black Brute, Eugene Stratton, even the Bones and Cornamina, the Livermore, Christie's, Bohee brothers. Sweep, for that matter. Tom and Sam Bohee, colored coons in the white duck suits, scarlet socks, upstarched sambo chokers, and large scarlet asters in their buttonholes leap out. Each has his banjo slung. Their paler, smaller negroid hands jingle the twing-twang wires. Flashing white kaffir eyes and tusks, they rattled through a breakdown in clumsy clogs, twinging, singing, back to back, toe, heel, toe, with smack, fat, clacking nigger lips. Tom and Sam. There's someone in the house with Dinah. There's someone in the house I know. There's someone in the house with Dinah, playing on the old banjo. They whisk black masks from raw babby faces, then, chuckling, chortling, trumming, twanging, they diddle-diddle cakewalk dance away. Bloom, with a sour, tenderish smile. A little frivol, shall we, if you are so inclined? Would you like me perhaps to embrace you just for a fraction of a second? Screams gaily. Oh, you ruck, you ought to see yourself. Bloom, for old sake's sake, I mean a square party, a mixed marriage mingling of our different little conjugals. You know, I had a soft corner for you. Gloomily, 'twas I sent you that valentine of the dear gazelle. Mrs. Breen, glory, Alice, you do look a holy show. Killing simply. She puts out her hand inquisitively. What are you hiding behind your back? Tell us, there's a dear. Bloom seizes her wrist with his free hand. Josie Powell, that was, prettiest deb in Dublin. How time flies. Do you remember, harking back in retrospective arrangement, old Christmas night, Georgina Simpson's housewarming while they were playing the Irving Bishop game, finding the pin blindfold and thought-reading? Subject, what is in this snuff box? Mrs. Breen. You were the lion of the night with your serio-comic recitation, and you looked the part. You were always a favorite with the ladies. Bloom, squire of dames in dinner jacket with watered silk facings, blue Masonic badge in his buttonhole, black bow and mother-of-pearl studs, a prismatic champagne glass tilted in his hand. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ireland, home and beauty. Mrs. Breen. The dear dead days beyond recall, love's old sweet song. Bloom, meaningfully dropping his voice. I confess, I'm teapot with curiosity to find out whether some person, something, is a little teapot at present. Mrs. Breen, gushingly. Tremendously teapot. London's teapot, and I'm simply teapot all over me. She rubs sides with him. After the parlor mystery games and the crackers from the tree, we sat on the staircase ottoman under the mistletoe. Two is company. Wearing a purple Napoleon hat with an amber half-moon, his fingers and thumb passing slowly down to her soft, moist, meaty palm, which she surrenders gently. The witching hour of night. I took the splinter out of this hand, carefully, slowly. Tenderly as he slips on her finger a ruby ring. Lacidaram la mano. Mrs. Breen, in a one-piece evening frock executed in moonlight blue, a tinsel-silk diadem on her brow with her dance card fallen beside her moon-blue satin slipper, curves her palms softly, breathing quickly. Voglio non. You're hot. You're scolding the left hand nearest the heart. Bloom. When you made your present choice, they said it was a beauty and the beast. I can never forgive you for that. He clenched fist at his brow. Think what it means, all you meant to me then. Hoarsely. Woman, it's breaking me. Dennis Breen, white tall-hatted with Wisdom Haley's sandwich boards, shuffles past them in carpet slippers, his dull beard thrust out, muttering to right and left. Little Alf Bergen, cloaked in the pall of the ace of spades, dogs him to left and right, doubled in laughter. Alf Bergen points jeering at the sandwich boards. You pee up. Mrs. Breen to Bloom. Hijinks below stairs. She gives him the glad eye. Why didn't you kiss the spot to make it well? You wanted to. Bloom, shocked. Molly's best friend? Could you? Mrs. Breen, her pulpy tongue between her lips, offers a pigeon kiss. That answer is a lemon. Have you a little present for me there? Bloom, offhandedly. Kosher. A snack for supper. The home without potted meat is incomplete. I was at Leah, Mrs. Bandman Palmer, trenchant exponent of Shakespeare. Unfortunately threw away the program. Rattling good place around there for pig's feet. Feel. Richie Goulding, 3 ladies' hats pinned on his head, appears weighted to one side by the black legal bag of Collis and Ward, on which a skull and crossbones are painted in white lime wash. He opens it and shows it full of polonies, kippered herrings, Findon haddies, and tight-packed pills. Richie, best value in Dub. Bald Pat, bothered beetle, stands on the curbstone, folding his napkin, waiting to wait. Pat advances with a tilted dish of spilling gravy. Steak and kidney, bottle of lager. Hee hee hee. Wait till I wait. Richie. Good God, I never ate it all. With hanging head, he marches doggedly forward. The navvy, lurching by, gores him with his flaming pronghorn. Richie, with a cry of pain, his hand to his back. Ah, right, lights. Bloom points the navvy. A spy. Don't attract attention. I hate stupid crowds. I'm not on the pleasure bent. I am in a grave predicament. Mrs. Breen, humbugging and deludering as per usual with your cock and bull story. Bloom, I want to tell you a little secret about how I came to be here, but you must never tell. Not even Molly. I have a most particular reason. Mrs. Breen, all agog. Oh, not for the worlds. Bloom, let's walk on. Shall us? Mrs. Breen, let's. The bawd makes an unheeded sigh. Bloom walks on with Mrs. Breen. The terrier follows, whining piteously, wagging his tail. The bawd, Jew-man's melt. Bloom, in an oatmeal sporting suit, a sprig of woodbine in the lapel, Tony buff shirt, shepherd's plaid, St. Andrew's cross scarf tie, white spats, one dust coat on his arm, tawny red brogues, field glasses in bandolier, and a grey billycock hat. Do you remember a long, long time, years and years ago, just after Millie, Marionette we called her, was weaned when we all went together to Ferry House races, was it? Mrs. Breen, in smart Saks tailor-made, white velours hat and spiderville. Leopardstown. Bloom, I mean Leopardstown. Yes, and Molly won 7 shillings as a 3-year-old named Nevertell and coming home along by Fox Rock in that old 5-seater Chandarandan of a wagonette. You were in your heyday then, and you had on that new hat of white velours with a surround of mole fur that Mrs. Hayes advised you to buy because it was marked down to 1911. A bit of wire and an old rag of velveteen, and I'll lay you what you'd like. She did it on purpose. Mrs. Breen, she did, of course. The cat. Don't tell me. Nice advisor. Bloom, because it didn't suit you 1/4 as well as the other ducky little Tammy toque with the bird of paradise wing in it that I admired on you, and you honestly looked too fetching in it, though it was a pity to kill it. You cruel, naughty creature, little mite of a thing with a heart the size of a full stop. Mrs. Breen squeezes his arm, simpers. Naughty, cruel I was. Bloom, low, secretly, ever more rapidly, and Molly was eating a sandwich of spiced beef out of Mrs. Joe Gallagher's lunch basket. Frankly, though she had her advisors and admirers, I never cared much for her style. She was... Mrs. Breen, too... Bloom, yes. And Molly was laughing because Rogers and Margaret O'Reilly were mimicking a cock as we passed a farmhouse, and Marcus Tertius Moses, the tea merchant, drove past us in a gig with his daughter Dancer Moses was her name, and the poodle in her lap bridled up. And you asked me if I ever heard or read or knew or came across Mrs. Breen eagerly. Yes. She fades from his side, followed by the whining dog. He walks on towards Hell's Gate. In an archway, a standing woman, bent forward, her feet apart, pisses cowily. Outside a shuttered pub, a bunch of loiterers listen to a tale which their broken-snouted gaffer rasps out with raucous humour. An armless pair of them flop, wrestling, growling, in maimed, sodden play-fight. The gaffer crouches, his voice twisted in his snout. And when Carnes came down from the scaffolding in Beaver Street, what was he after? Doing it only into the bucket of porter that was there waiting on the shavings for Derwin's plasterers. The loiterers guffaw with cleft palates. Oh, jays! Their paint-speckled hats wag, spattered with size and lime of their largest. They frisk limblessly about him. Bloom. Coincidence, too. They think it funny. Anything but that. Broad daylight, trying to walk. Lucky no woman. The loiterers. Jays, that's a good one. Glauber salts. Oh, jays into the men's porter. Bloom passes, cheap horse, singly, coupled, shawl, dishevelled, coal from lanes, doors, corners, the whores. Are you going far, queer fellow? How's your middle leg? Got a match on you? Hey, come here till I stiffen it for you. He plodges through their sump towards the lighted street beyond. From a bulge of window curtains, a gramophone rears a battered brazen trunk. In the shadow, a shebeen keeper haggles with the navvy and the two redcoats, the navvy belching. Where's the bloody house? The shebeen keeper. Purdon Street, shilling a bottle of snout. Respectable woman. The navvy, gripping the two redcoats, staggers forward with them. Come on, you British Army. Private Carr behind his back. He ain't half balmy. Private Compton laughs. What ho! Private Carr to the navvy. Portobello Barracks Canteen. You ask for Carr. Just Carr. The navvy shouts. We are the boys of Wexford. Private Compton. Say, what price the Sergeant Major? Private Carr. Bennett? He's my pal. I love old Bennett. The navvy shouts, the galling chain and free our native land. He staggers forward, dragging them with him. Bloom stops at fault. The dog approaches, his tongue outlawing, panting. Bloom. Wild goose chase this, disorderly houses, Lord knows where they are gone. Drunks cover distance double quick, nice mix-up. Scene at Westland Row. Then jump in first class with third ticket, then too far. Train with engine behind. Might have taken me to Malahide or a siding for the night or collision. Second drink does it. Once is a dose. What am I following him for? Still, he's the best of that lot. If I hadn't heard about Mrs. Beaufoy Purefoy, I wouldn't have gone and wouldn't have met. Kismet. He'll lose that cash. Relieving office here. Good biz for cheapjack's organs. What do you lack? Soon got, soon gone. Might have lost my life, too, with that man-gong wheel-track trolley glare juggernaut only for the presence of mine. Can't always save you, though. If I had passed Trulock's window that day 2 minutes later, would have been shot. Absence of body. Still, if bullet only went through my coat, get damages for shock. £500. What was he? Kildare Street Club toff. God help his gamekeeper. He gazes ahead, reading on the wall a scrawled chalk legend, wet dream in a phallic design. Odd. Molly drawing on the frost carriage pane at Kingston. What's that like? Gaudy doll woman loll in the lighted doorways, in window embrasures. Smoking bird's-eye cigarettes, the odor of the sick, sweet weed floats toward him in slow, round, ovaling wreaths. The wreaths. Sweet are the sweets. Sweets of sin. Bloom, my spine's a bit limp. Go or turn? And this food? Eat it and get all pig sticky. Absurd I am. Waste of money. 1 and 8 pence too much. The retriever drives a cold, sniveling muzzle against his hand, wagging his tail. Strange how they take to me, even that brute today. Better speak to him first. Like women, they like rencontre. Stinks like a polecat. Chacun son goût. He might be mad. Dog days. Uncertain in his movements. Good fellow, Fido. Good fellow. Gary Owen. The wolf dog sprawls on his back, wriggling obscenely with begging paws, his long black tongue lolling out. Influence of his surroundings, give and have done with it, provided nobody. Calling encouraging words, he shambles back with a furtive poacher's tread, dogged by the setter into a dark, stale, stunk corner. He unrolls 1 parcel and goes to the dump with the crubine softly, but holds back and feels the trotter. Sizable for 3 pence. But then I have it in my left hand. Calls for more effort. Why? Smaller from want of use. Oh, let it slide. 2 and 6. With the regret, he lets the unrolled crubine and trotter slide. The mastiff mauls the bundle clumsily and gluts himself with growling greed, crunching the bones. 2 rain-caped watch approach, silent, vigilant. They murmur together. The watch. Bloom, of Bloom for Bloom, Bloom. Each lays hands on Bloom's shoulder. First watch. Caught in the act. Commit no nuisance. Bloom stammers. I'm doing good to others. A covey of gulls, storm petrels, rise hungrily from liffy slime with banberry cakes in their beaks. The gulls. Caw, caw of cranberry cake. Bloom, the friend of man, trained by kindness. He points. Bob Doran, toppling from a high bar stool, sways over the munching spaniel. Bob Doran. Towser, give us the paw. Give the paw. The bulldog growls, his scruff standing, a goblet of pig's knuckle between his molars through which rabid scum spittle dripples. Bob Doran falls silently into an area. Prevention of cruelty to animals. Bloom enthusiastically. A noble work. I scolded that tram driver on Harold's Cross Bridge for eluding the poor horse with his harness scab. Bad French I got for my pains. Of course, it was frosty, and the last tram. All tales of circus life are highly demoralizing. Signor Maffi, passion pale in lion tamer's costume, with diamond studs in his shirt front, steps forward, holding a circus paper hoop, a curling carriage whip, and a revolver with which he covers the gorging boarhound, Signor Maffi, with a sinister smile. Ladies and gentlemen, my educated greyhound, it was I broke in the bucking bronco Ajax with my patent spike saddle for carnivores, lash under the belly with a knotted thong. Block, tackle, and a strangling pulley will bring your lion to heel, no matter how fractious. Even Leo Ferox there, the Libyan man-eater, a red-hot crowbar and some liniment rubbing on the burning pot, produced Fritz of Amsterdam, the thinking hyena. He glares. I possess the Indian sign. The glint of my eye does it with these breast sparklers, with a bewitching smile. I now introduce Mademoiselle Ruby, the pride of the ring. First watch. Come, name and address. Bloom. I have forgotten for the moment. Yes. He takes off his high-grade hat, saluting. Dr. Bloom Leopold, dental surgeon. You've heard of von Bloom Pasha. Up teen millions. Donsvetter. Owns half Austria, Egypt, cousin. First watch. Proof? A card falls from inside the leather headband of Bloom's hat. Bloom. In red fez, caddy's dress coat with broad green sash, wearing a false badge of the Legion of Honor, picks up the card hastily and offers it. Allow me. My club is the Junior Army and Navy. Solicitors, Messrs. John Henry Menton, 27 Bachelor's Walk. First watch reads, Henry Flower, no fixed abode, unlawfully watching and besetting. Second watch, an alibi. You are cautioned. Bloom produces from his heart pocket a crumpled yellow flower. This is the flower in question. It was given me by a man I don't know his name, plausibly. You know that old joke, Rose of Castile? Bloom, the change of the name. Virag, he murmurs privately and confidentially. We are engaged, you see, Sergeant. Lady in the case. Love entanglement. He shoulders the second watch gently. Dash it all, it's a way we gallants have in the Navy. Uniform, that does it. He turns gravely to the first watch. Still, of course, you do get your Waterloo sometimes. Drop in some evening and have a glass of old Burgundy. To the second watch gaily. I'll introduce you, Inspector. She's game. Do it in the shakes of a lamb's tail. A dark, mercurialized face appears, leading a veiled figure. The dark Mercury. The castle is looking for him. He was drummed out of the army. Martha, thick-veiled, a crimson halter round her neck, a copy of the Irish Times in her hand, in a tone of reproach, pointing. Henry! Leopold! Lionel, thou lost one! Clear my name! First watch, sternly. Come to the station. Bloom, scared, hats himself, steps back, then plucking at his heart and lifting his right forearm on the square, he gives the sign and due guard of fellow craft. No, worshipful master, light of love, mistaken identity, the lion's male, Lesux and Dubosc. You remember the child's fratricide case, we medical men. By striking him dead with a hatchet, I am wrongfully accused. Better one guilty escape than 99 wrongfully condemned. Martha, sobbing behind her veil. Breach of promise. My real name is Peggy Griffin. He wrote to me that he was miserable. I'll tell my brother, the bective rugger full back on you, heartless flirt. Behind his hand, Bloom. She's drunk. The woman is inebriated. He murmurs vaguely the pass of Ephraim. Shit broleith. Second watch, tears in his eyes to Bloom. You ought to be thoroughly well ashamed of yourself. Bloom. Gentlemen of the jury, let me explain. A pure mare's nest. I am a man misunderstood. I am being made a scapegoat of. I'm a respectable married man without a stain on my character. I live in Eccles Street. My wife, I am the daughter of a most distinguished commander, a gallant, upstanding gentleman. What do you call him? Major General Brian Tweedy, one of Britain's fighting men who helped to win our battles, got his majority for the heroic defense of Rorke's Drift. First watch. Regiment. Bloom turns to the gallery. The Royal Dublin's boys, the salt of the earth, known the world over. I think I see some comrades in arms up there among you. The RDF with our own Metropolitan Police, guardians of our homes, the pluckiest lads and the finest body of men as physiques in the service of our sovereign. A voice. Turncoat. Up the Boers. Who booed Joe Chamberlain? Bloom. His hand on the shoulder of the first watch. My old dad, too, is a JP. I'm as staunch a Britisher as you are, sir. I fought with the colours for king and country in the absent-minded war under General Gough in Park, and was disabled at Spy and Cop and Bloemfontein, was mentioned in dispatches. I did all a white man could. With quiet feeling, Jim Bloodsell. Hold your nozzle again, the bank. First watch. Profession or trade? Bloom. Well, I follow a literary occupation. Author, journalist. In fact, we are just bringing out a collection of prize stories of which I am the inventor, something that is an entirely new departure. I am connected with the British and Irish press. If you ring up... Miles Crawford strides out jerkily, a quill between his teeth. His scarlet beak blazes with the aureole of his straw hat. He dangles a hank of Spanish onions in one hand and holds with the other hand a telephone receiver nozzle to his ear. Miles Crawford, his cockswaddles wagging. Hello, 7784. Hello, Freeman's Urinal and Weekly Arsewipe here. Paralyzed Europe. You which? Blue bags. Who writes? Is it Bloom? Mr. Philip Beaufoy, pale-faced, stands in the witness box, in accurate morning dress, outbreast pocket with peak of handkerchief showing, creased lavender trousers and patent boots. He carries a large portfolio labeled Matcham's Masterstrokes. Beaufoy draws. No, you aren't. Not by a long shot, if I know it. I don't see it, that's all. No born gentleman, no one with the most rudimentary promptings of a gentleman, would stoop to such a particularly loathsome conduct. One of those, my lord, a plagiarist, a soapy sneak masquerading as a litterateur. It's perfectly obvious that with the most inherent baseness he has cribbed some of my best-selling copy, really gorgeous stuff, a perfect gem, the love passages in which are beneath suspicion. The Beaufoy books of love and great possessions, with which your lordship is doubtless familiar, are a household word throughout the kingdom. Bloom murmurs with hangdog meekness glum. That bit about the laughing witch hand in hand I take exception to. If I may, Beaufoy, his lips upcurled, smiles superciliously on the court. You funny ass, you. You're too beastly awfully weird for words. I don't think you need over-excessively disincommodate yourself in that regard. My literary agent, Mr. J.B. Pinker, is in attendance. I presume, my lord, we shall receive the usual witnesses' fees, shan't we? We are considerably out of pocket over this bally-pressman Johnny, this jackdaw of Reims, who has not even been to a university. Bloom, indistinctly. University of life. Bad art. Beaufoy shouts, It's a damnably foul lie, showing the moral rottenness of the man. He extends his portfolio. We have here damning evidence, the corpus delicti, my lord, a specimen of my maturer work, disfigured by the hallmark of the beast. A voice from the gallery. Moses, Moses, king of the Jews, wiped his arse in the Daily News. Bloom, bravely. Overdrawn. Beaufoy, you low cad. You ought to be ducked in the horse-pound, you rotter. To the court. Why, look at the man's private life. Leading a quadruple existence, street angel and house devil, not fit to be mentioned in mixed society. The arch conspirator of the age. Bloom to the court. And he a bachelor. How? First watch. The King versus Bloom. Call the woman Driscoll. The crier. Mary Driscoll. Scullery maid. Mary Driscoll, a slipshod servant girl, approaches. She has a bucket on the crook of her arm and a scouring brush in her hand. Second watch. Another. Are you of the unfortunate class? Mary Driscoll, indignantly. I'm not a bad one. I bear a respectable character and was 4 months in my last place. I was in a situation. £6 a year and my chances with Fridays out. And I had to leave, owing to his carryings on. First watch. What do you tax him with? Mary Driscoll. He made a certain suggestion, but I thought more of myself as poor as I am. Bloom, in house jacket of ripple cloth, flannel trousers, heelless slippers, unshaven, his hair rumpled softly. I treated you right. I gave you mementos, smart emerald garters far above your station. Incautiously, I took your part when you were accused of pilfering. There's a medium in all things. Play cricket. Mary Driscoll, excitedly. As God is looking down on me this night if I ever laid a hand to them oilsters. First watch. The offence complained of? Did something happen? Mary Driscoll. He surprised me in the rear of the premises. Your Honour, when the missus was out shopping one morning with a request for a safety pin, he held me and I was discoloured in 4 places as a result. And he interfered, twicked with my clothing. Bloom. She counter-assaulted. Mary Driscoll, scornfully. I had more respect for this scouring brush. So I had. I remonstrated with him, your lord, and he remarked, keep it quiet. General laughter. George Futrell, Clerk of the Crown and Peace resonantly. Order in the court. The accused will now make a bogus statement. Bloom, pleading not guilty and holding a full-blown water lily, begins a long, unintelligible speech. They would hear what counsel had to say in his stirring address to the grand jury. He was down and out, but, though branded as a black sheep, if he might say so, he meant to reform, to retrieve the memory of the past in a purely sisterly way, and return to nature as a purely domestic animal. A 7-month child, he had been carefully brought up and nurtured by an aged, bedridden parent. There might have been lapses of an erring father, but he wanted to turn over a new leaf, and now, when at long last in sight of the whipping post, to lead a homely life in the evening of his days, permeated by the affectionate surroundings of the heaving bosom of the family. An acclimatized Britisher, he had seen that summer eve from the footplate of an engine cab of the Loop Line Railway Company, while the rain refrained from falling, glimpses, as it were, through the windows of loveful households in Dublin City, an urban district of scenes truly rural, of happiness of the better land, with Dockrell's wallpaper at one and 9d a dozen innocent British-born bairns, lisping prayers to the sacred infant, youthful scholars grappling with their pensums, or model young ladies playing on the pianoforte, all anon, all with fervour reciting the family rosary round the crackling yew log, while in the boreens and green lanes the colleens with their swains strolled what times the strains of the organ-toned melodeon Britannia metal-bound, with 4 acting stops and 12-fold bellows, a sacrifice greatest bargain ever. Renewed laughter. He mumbles incoherently. Reporters complain that they cannot hear. Longhand and shorthand, without looking up from their notebooks. Loosen his boots. Professor McHugh, from the press table, coughs and calls. Cough it up, man. Get it out in bits. The cross-examination proceeds. Ray Bloom and the bucket, a large bucket, Bloom himself, bowel trouble, in Beaver Street, gripe, yes, quite bad, a plasterer's bucket, by walking stiff-legged, suffered untold misery, deadly agony, about noon, love or burgundy, yes, some spinach. Crucial moment, he did not look in the bucket, nobody, rather a mess, not completely, a Titbit's back number, uproar and catcalls, Bloom in a torn frock coat stained with whitewash, dinged silk hat sideways on his head, a strip of sticking plaster across his nose, talks inaudibly. J.J. O'Malloy, in barrister's grey wig and stuff gown, speaking with a voice of pained protest. This is no place for indecent levity at the expense of an erring mortal disguised in liquor. We are not in a bear garden, nor at an Oxford rag, nor is this a travesty of justice. My client is an infant, a poor foreign immigrant, who started scratch as a stowaway and is now trying to turn an honest penny. The trumped-up misdemeanor was due to a momentary aberration of heredity, brought on by hallucination, such familiarities as the alleged guilty occurrence being quite permitted in my client's native place, the land of the Pharaoh. Prima facie, I put it to you that there was no attempt at carnally knowing. Intimacy did not occur, and the offence complained of by Driscoll, that her virtue was solicited, was not repeated. I would deal in especial with atavism. There have been cases of shipwreck and somnambulism in my client's family. If the accused could speak, he could a tale unfold, one of the strangest that have ever been narrated between the covers of a book. He himself, my lord, is a physical wreck from the cobbler's weak chest. His submission is that he is of a Mongolian extraction and irresponsible for his actions. Not all there, in fact. Bloom, barefoot, pigeon-breasted, in Lasker's vest and trousers, apologetic toes turned in, opens his tiny mole eyes and looks about him dazedly, passing a slow hand across his forehead. Then he hitches his belt, sailor fashion, and with a shrug of oriental obeisance salutes the court, pointing one thumb heavenward. Him makey very muchy fine night. He begins to lilt simply. Lily poo lil chilly, blingy pigfoot everly night, pay ye 2 shilly. He is howled down. J.J. O'Malloy, hotly to the populace. This is a lone hand fight. By Hades, I will not have any client of mine gagged and badgered in this fashion by a pack of curs and laughing hyenas. The Mosaic Code has superseded the law of the jungle. I say it, and I say it emphatically, without wishing for one moment to defeat the ends of justice. Accused was not accessory before the act, and prosecutrix has not been tampered with. The young person was treated by defendants as if she were his very own daughter. Bloom takes J.J. O'Malloy's hand and raises it to his lips. I shall call rebutting evidence to prove up to the hilt that the hidden hand is again at its old game. When in doubt, persecute Bloom. My client, an innately bashful man, would be the last man in the world to do anything ungentlemanly which injured modesty. Could object to or cast a stone at a girl who took the wrong turning when some dastard responsible for her condition had worked his own sweet will on her. He wants to go straight. I regard him as the whitest man I know. He is down on his luck at present owing to the mortgaging of his extensive property at Agendath Neetum in a faraway Asia Minor, slides of which will now be shown. To Bloom, I suggest that you will do the handsome thing, a penny in the pound. The image of the Lake of Kinnereth with blurred cattle cropping in silver haze is projected on the wall. Moses Douglas, ferret-eyed albino in blue dungarees, stands up in the gallery, holding in each hand an orange citron and a pork kidney. De Lugatz, hoarsely. Bleibtreustrasse, Berlin. W13. J.J. Malloy steps on to a low plinth and holds the lapel of his coat with solemnity. His face lengthens, grows pale and bearded, with sunken eyes. The blotches of phthisis and hectic cheekbones of John F. Taylor. He applies his handkerchief to his mouth and scrutinizes the galloping tide of rose-pink blood. J.J. O'Malloy, almost voicelessly. Excuse me, I am suffering from a severe chill. Have recently come from a sickbed. A few well-chosen words. He assumes the aline head, foxy mustache, and proboscidal eloquence of Seymour Bushe. When the angel's book comes to be opened, if aught that the pensive bosom has inaugurated of soul transfigured and of soul transfiguring deserves to live, I say, accord the prisoner at the bar the sacred benefit of the doubt. A paper with something written on it is handed into the court. Bloom, in court dress, can give best references. Messrs. Callan, Coleman, Mr. Wisdom, Helly J.P., my old chief, Joe Cuff, Mr. V.B. Dillon, ex-Lord Mayor of Dublin. I have moved in the charmed circle of the highest queens of Dublin, carelessly. I was just chatting this afternoon at the Viceregal Lodge to my old pals, Sir Robert and Lady Ball, Astronomer Royal, at the levee. Sir Bob, I said. Mrs. Yelverton Barry, in low corsaged opal ball dress and elbow-length ivory gloves, wearing a sable-trimmed, brick-quilted dolman, a comb of brilliants, panache of osprey in her hair. Arrest him, constable. He wrote me an anonymous letter in Prenton's backhand when my husband was in the north, riding of the Tipperary on the Munster circuit, signed James Lovebirch. He said that he had seen from the gods my peerless globes as I sat in a box of the Theatre Royal at the command performance of La Cigale. I deeply inflamed him, he said. He made improper overtures to me to conduct myself at 4 p.m. on the following Thursday, Dunsink time. He offered to send me through the post a work of fiction by Monsieur Paul de Kock entitled The Girl with the 3 Pairs of Stays. Mrs. Bellingham, in cap and seal coney mantle, wrapped up to the nose, steps out of her brougham and scans through tortoiseshell quizzing glasses, which she takes from inside her huge opossum muff. Also to me, yes. I believe it is the same objectionable person, because he closed my carriage door outside Sir Thornley Stoker's one sleety day during the cold snap of February '93, when even the grid of the waste pipe and the bowl stop in my bath cistern were frozen. Subsequently, he enclosed a bloom of edelweiss, culled on the heights, as he said, in my honor, and I had it examined by a botanical expert and elicited the information that it was a blossom of the home-grown potato plant purloined from a forcing case of the model farm. Mrs. Elverton Barry. Shame on him! A crowd of sluts and ragamuffins surges forward, the sluts and ragamuffins screaming, Stop thief! Hurrah there, Bluebeard! 3 cheers for Ikey Mo! Second watch. Produces handcuffs. Here are the Darbys. Mrs. Bellingham. He addressed me in several handwritings with fulsome compliments as a Venus in furs and alleged profound pity for my frost-bound coachman Palmer, while in the same breath he expressed himself as envious of his ear-flaps and fleecy sheepskins and of his fortunate proximity to my person when standing behind my chair, wearing my livery and the armorial bearings of the Bellingham escutcheon-garnished sable, a buck's head cooped of. He lauded almost extravagantly my nether extremities, my swelling calves and silk hose drawn up to the limit, and eulogized glowingly my other hidden treasures and priceless lace, which, he said, he could conjure up. He urged me, stating that he felt it his mission in life to urge me to defile the marriage bed, to commit adultery at the earliest possible opportunity. In Amazon costume, hard hat, jack boots, cock-spurred vermilion waistcoat, fawn musketeer gauntlets with braided drums, long train held up, and hunting crop with which she strikes her welt constantly. The Honourable Mrs. Melvin Talboys. Also me, because he saw me on the polo ground of the Phoenix Park at the match, all Ireland versus the rest of Ireland. My eyes, I know, shone divinely as I watched Captain Slugger Dennehy of the Inniskillings win the final chukker on his darling cob centaur. This plebeian Don Juan observed me from behind a hackney car and sent me in double envelopes an obscene photograph, such as are sold after dark on Paris boulevards, insulting to any lady. I have it still. It represents a partially nude señorita, frail and lovely, his wife, as he solemnly assured me, taken by him from nature, practicing illicit intercourse, muscular torero, evidently a blackguard. He urged me to do likewise, to misbehave, to sin with officers of the garrison. He implored me to soil his letter in an unspeakable manner, to chastise him as he richly deserves, to bestride and ride him, to give him a most vicious horsewhipping. Mrs. Bellingham. Me too. Mrs. Elverton Barry. Me too. Several highly respectable Dublin ladies hold up improper letters received from Bloom. The Honourable Mrs. Mervyn Talboys, stamping her jingling spurs in a sudden paroxysm of fury. I will, by God above me. I'll scourge the pigeon-livered cur as long as I can stand over him. I'll flay him alive. Bloom, his eyes closing, quails expectantly. Here? He squirms again. He pants cringingly. I love the danger. The Honourable Mrs. Irvin Talboys. Very much so. I'll make it hot for you. I'll make you dance Jack Latin for that. Mrs. Bellingham. Tan his breech well, the upstart. Write the stars and stripes upon it. Mrs. Elvington Barry. Disgraceful. There's no excuse for him. A married man. Bloom. All these people, I meant only the spanking idea. A warm, tingling glow without effusion. Refined birching to stimulate the circulation. The Honourable Mrs. Mervyn Talboys laughs derisively. Oh, did you, my fine fellow? Well, by the living God, you'll get the surprise of your life now. Believe me, the most unmerciful hiding a man ever bargained for. You have lashed the dormant tigress in my nature to fury. Mrs. Bellingham shakes her muff and quizzing glasses vindictively. Make him smart, Hannah dear. Give him ginger. Thrash the mongrel within an inch of his life. The cattails geld him. Vivisect him. Bloom, shuddering, shrinking, joining his hands with hangdog mane. Oh, cold, oh, shivery. It was your ambrosial beauty. Forget, forgive. Kismet, let me off this once. He offers the other cheek. Mrs. Yelverton Barry, severely. Don't do so on any account, Mrs. Talboys. He should be soundly trounced. The Honourable Mrs. Melvin Talboys, unbuttoning her gauntlet violently. I'll do no such thing, pig dog, and always was, ever since he was pupped. To dare address me, I'll flog him black and blue in the public streets. I'll dig my spurs in him up to the rowel. He's a well-known cuckold. She swishes her hunting crop savagely in the air. Take down his trousers without loss of time. Come here, sir. Quick! Ready? Bloom, trembling, beginning to obey. The weather has been so warm. Davy Stevens, ring-leaded, passes with a bevy of barefoot newsboys. Davy Stevens, messenger of the Sacred Heart and Evening Telegraph with St. Patrick's Day supplement, containing the new addresses of all the cuckolds in Dublin. The Very Reverend Canon O'Hanlon, in cloth of gold, cope, elevates and exposes a marble timepiece. Before him, Father Conroy and the Reverend John Hughes S.J. bend low, the timepiece unportaling. Cuckoo! 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 The brass quoits of a bed are heard to jingle. The quoits. Jig-jag! Jigga-jigga! Jig-jag! A panel of fog rolls back rapidly, revealing rapidly in the jury box the faces of Martin Cunningham, Foreman, Silk-hatted, Jack Power, Simon Dedalus, Tom Kernan, Ned Lambert, John Henry Menton, Miles Crawford, Lenehan, Paddy Leonard, Nosey Flynn, McCoy, and the featureless face of a nameless one. The nameless one. Bareback riding, wait for age, gob. He organized her. The jurors, all their heads turned to his voice. Really? The nameless one snarls, arse over tip, 100 shillings to 5. The jurors, all their heads lowered in assent. Most of us thought as much. First watch. He is a marked man. Another girl's plate cut. Wanted Jack the Ripper, £1,000 reward. Second watch. Awed whispers. And in black. A Mormon. Anarchist. The crier, loudly, whereas Leopold Bloom, of no fixed abode, is a well-known diamantard, forger, bigamist, bawd, and cuckold, and a public nuisance to the citizens of Dublin, and whereas, at this commission of assizes, the most honourable, His Honour Sir Frederick Falconer, Recorder of Dublin, in judicial garb of grey stone, rises from the bench, stone-bearded. He bears in his arms an umbrella sceptre. From his forehead arise stark the mosaic ram's horns. The Recorder. I will put an end to this white slave traffic and rid Dublin of this odious pest. Scandalous. He dons the black cap. Let him be taken, Mr. Sub-Sheriff, from the dock where he now stands and detained in custody in Mountjoy prison during his Majesty's pleasure, and there be hanged by the neck until he is dead, and therein fail not at your peril, or may the Lord have mercy on your soul. Remove him. A black skull-cap descends upon his head. The Sub-Sheriff, Long John Fanning, appears, smoking a pungent Henry Clay. Long John Fanning scowls and calls with rich rolling utterance. Who'll hang Judas Iscariot? H. Rumbold, master barber, in a blood-coloured jerkin and tanner's apron, a rope coiled over his shoulder, mounts the block. A life-preserver and a nail-studded bludgeon are stuck in his belt. He rubs grimly his grappling hands, knobbed with knuckle-dusters. Rumbold, to the Recorder with sinister familiarity. Hanging Harry, Your Majesty, the Mercy Terror. 5 guineas a jugular, neck or nothing. The bells of George's church toll slowly, loud, dark iron. The bells. Hi-ho! Hi-ho! Bloom, desperately. Wait! Stop! Gulls, good heart, I saw innocence. Girl in the monkey house, zoo, lewd chimpanzee, breathlessly. Pelvic basin, her artless blush unmanned me. Overcome with emotion, I left the precincts. He turns to the crowd and A figure in the crowd appealing. Heinz, may I speak to you? You know me. That 3 shillings you can keep if you want a little more. Heinz, coldly. You are a perfect stranger. Second watch points to the corner. The bomb is here. First watch, infernal machine with a time fuse. Bloom, no, pig's feet. I was at the funeral. First watch, draws his truncheon. Liar. The beagle lifts his snout, showing the grey, scorbutic face of Paddy Dignam. He was not all. He exhales a putrid, carcass-fed breath. He grows to human size and shape. His Dachshund coat becomes a brown mortuary habit. His green eye flashes bloodshot. Half of one ear, all the nose, and both thumbs are ghoul-eaten. Paddy Dignam, in a hollow voice. It is true. It was my funeral. Dr. Finucane pronounced life extinct when I succumbed to the disease from natural causes. He lifts his mutilated ashen face moonwards and bays lugubriously. Bloom in triumph. You hear? Paddy Dignam. Bloom, I am Paddy Dignam's spirit. List, oh list. Bloom. The voice is the voice of Esau. Second watch blesses himself. How is that possible? First watch. It is not in the penny catechism. Paddy Dignam. My metempsychosis. Spooks. A voice. Oh, rocks. Paddy Dignam earnestly. Once I was in the employ of Mr. J.H. Menton, solicitor, commissioner for oaths and affidavits of 27 Bachelor's Walk. Now I am defunct, the wall of the heart hypertrophied. Hard lines. The poor wife was awfully cut up. How is she bearing it? Keep her off that bottle of sherry. He looks around. A lamp. I must satisfy an animal need. That buttermilk didn't agree with me. The portly figure of John O'Connell, caretaker, stands forth, holding a bunch of keys tied with crepe. Beside him stands Father Caffey, chaplain, toad-bellied, wry-necked, in a surplice and bandana nightcap, holding sleepily a staff of twisted poppies. Father Coffey yawns, then chants with a hoarse croak. Namin, Jacobs, Vabiscuits, Amen. John O'Connell, foghorn stormily through his megaphone. Dignam, Patrick T. Deceased. Paddy Dignam, with pricked up ears, winces. Overtones. He wriggles forward and places an ear to the ground. My master's voice. John O'Connell. Burial docket letter number UP 85,000. Field 17. House of Keys. Plot 101. Paddy Dignam listens with visible effort, thinking, his tail stiff-pointed, his ears cocked. Paddy Dignam. Pray for the repose of his soul. He worms down through a coal hole, his brown habit trailing its tether over rattling pebbles. After him toddles an obese grandfather rat on fungus turtle paws under a grey carapace. Dignam's voice, muffled, is heard baying underground. Dignam's dead and gone below. Tom Rochford, robin red-breasted in cap and breeches, jumps from the 2-column machine. Tom Rochford, a hand to his breastbone, bows. Reuben J. A florin, I find him. He fixes the manhole with a resolute stare. My turn now, on. Follow me up to Carlo. He executes a daredevil salmon leap in the air and is engulfed in the coal hole. 2 discs on the columns wobble. Eyes of naught. All recedes. Bloom plunges forward again through the sump. Kisses chirp amid the riffs of fog. A piano sounds. He stands before a lighted house, listening. The kisses, ringing from their bowers, fly about him, twittering, warbling, cooing. The kisses, warbling, Leo, twittering, icky, icky, mickey, sticky for Leo, cooing, coo, 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 yummy, yum, wum, wum, warbling, become big, pirouette, Leopold, twittering, Leolie! Warbling, oh, Leo. They rustle, flutter upon his garments, a light, bright, giddy flecks, silvery sequins, bloom. A man's touch, sad music, church music. Perhaps here. Zoe Higgins, a young whore in a sapphire slip, closed with 3 bronze buckles, a slim black velvet fillet around her neck. Nods, trips down the steps and accosts him. Zoe, are you looking for romance? He's inside with his friend. Bloom, is this Mrs. Max? Zoe, no, 81, Mrs. Cohen's. You might go farther and fare worse. Mother's slipper slapper. Familiarly, she's on the job herself tonight with the vet, her tipster that gives her all the winners and pays for her son in Oxford, working overtime, but her luck's turned today, suspiciously. You're not his father, are you? Bloom, not I. Zoe, you both in black. Has little Mousy any tickles tonight? His skin alert feels her fingertips approach. A hand glides over his left thigh. Zoe, how's the nuts? Bloom, offside, curious they are on the right. Heavier, I suppose. 1 in a million, my tailor Messias says. Zoe, in sudden alarm, you've a hard chancre. Bloom, not likely. Zoe, I feel it. Her hand slides into his left trouser pocket and brings out a hard, black, shriveled potato. She regards it and Bloom with dumb, moist lips. Bloom, a talisman, heirloom. Zoe, for keeps, for being so nice, eh? She puts the potato greedily into the pocket, then links his arm, cuddling him with supple warmth. He smiles uneasily. Slowly, note by note, oriental music is played. He gazes in the tawny crystal of her eyes, ringed with kohol. His smile softens. Zoe, you'll know me the next time. Bloom, forlornly, I never loved a dear gazelle, but it was sure to. Gazelles are leaping, feeding on the mountains, near our lakes, round their shores, file shadows black of cedar groves. Aroma rises, a strong hair growth of resin. It burns, the Orient, a sky of sapphire, cleft by the bronze flight of eagles. Under it lies the woman's city, nude, white, still, cool, in luxury. A fountain murmurs among the damask roses. Mammoth roses murmur of scarlet wine grapes. A wine of shame, lust, blood exudes, strangely murmuring. Zoe, murmuring sing-song with the music, her odalisque lips lusciously smeared with the salve of swine fat and rosewater. Skorakani wanawak benuith herasholuyam. Bloom, fascinated. I thought you were of good stock by your accent. Zoe, and you know what thought did? She bites his ears gently with little gold-stopped teeth, sending on him a cloying breath of stale garlic. The roses draw apart to disclose a sepulchre of the gold of kings in their mouldering bones. Bloom draws back, mechanically caressing her right bob with a flat, awkward hand. Are you a Dublin girl? Zoe catches a stray hair deftly and twists it to her coil. No bloody fear. I'm English. Have you a swagger root? Bloom, as before. Rarely smoke, dear. Cigar now and then. Childish device. Lewdly. The mouth can be better engaged than with a cylinder of rank weed. Zoe, go on. Make a stump speech out of it. Bloom, in workman's corduroy overalls, black gansey with a red floating tie and Apache cap. Mankind is incorrigible. Sir Walter Raleigh brought from the New World that potato and that weed, the one a killer of pestilence by absorption, the other a poisoner of the ear, eye, heart, memory, will, understanding, all. That is to say, he brought the poison 100 years before another person whose name I forget brought the food. Suicide, lies, all our habits. Why, look at our public life. Midnight chimes from distant steeples. The chimes, "Turn again, Leopold, Lord Mayor of Dublin." Bloom, in alderman's gown and chain. Electors of Arn Key, Inns Key, Rotunda, Mountjoy, and North Dock. Better run a tram line, I say, from the cattle market to the river. That's the music of the future. That's my programme. Cui bono? But our buccaneering Vanderdeckens in their phantom ship of finance. An elector, 3 times 3 for our future chief magistrate. The aurora borealis of the torchlight procession leaps. The torchbearers, hooray! Several well-known burgesses, city magnates, and freemen of the city shake hands with Bloom and congratulate him. Timothy Harrington, late thrice Lord Mayor of Dublin, imposing in majoral scarlet, gold chain, and white silk tie, confers with the consular, Lorcan Sherlock, locum tenens. They nod vigorously in agreement. In scarlet robe, with mace, gold majoral chain, and large white scarf, late Lord Mayor Harrington. That alderman, Sir Leo Bloom's speech, he printed at the expense of the ratepayers, that the house in which he was born to be ornamented with a commemorative tablet, and that the thoroughfare hitherto known as Cow Parlour off Cork Street be henceforth designated Boulevard Bloom. Councillor Lorcan Sherlock. Carried unanimously. Bloom impassionedly. These Flying Dutchmen are lying Dutchmen as they recline in their upholstered poop, casting dice. What reck they? Machines is their cry, their chimera, their panacea, labour-saving apparatuses, supplanters, bugbears, manufactured monsters for mutual murder, hideous hobgoblins produced by a horde of capitalistic lusts upon their prostituted labour. The poor man starves while they are grassing their royal mountain stags or shooting peasants and partridges in their purblind pomp of pelf and power, but their reign is rover forever and ever. Prolonged pause. Venetian mass, maypoles, and festal arches spring up. A streamer bearing the legends Siad Mile Felt and Ma Chab Melech Israel spans the streets. All the windows are thronged with sightseers, chiefly ladies. Along the route, the regiments of the Royal Dublin Fulicers, the King's own Scottish Borderers, the Cameron Highlanders, and the Welsh Fusiliers, standing to attention, keep back the crowd. Boys from high school are perched on the lampposts, telegraph poles, windowsills, cornices, gutters, chimney pots, railings, rainspouts, whistling and cheering. The pillar of the cloud appears. A fife and drum band is heard in the distance, playing the Col Niger. The beaters approach with imperial eagles hoisted, trailing banners and waving oriental palms. The chrysophilantine papal standard rises high, surrounded by pennons of the civic flag. The van of the procession appears, headed by John Howard Parnell, City Marshal, in a chessboard tabard. The Athlone Poursuivant, Anne Ulster, King of Arms. They are followed by the Right Honourable Joseph Hutchinson, Lord Mayor of Dublin, his Lordship, the Mayor of Cork, their worships, the mayors of Limerick, Galway, Sligo, and Waterford, 28 Irish representative peers, sirdars, grandees, and maharajas, bearing the cloth of estate, the Dublin Metropolitan Fire Brigade, the chapter of the Saints of Finance and their plutocratic order of precedence, the Bishop of Down, Anne Connor, His Eminence, Michael Cardinal Logue, Archbishop of Armagh, Primate of all Ireland, His Grace the Most Reverend Mr. William Alexander, Archbishop of Armagh, Primate of all Ireland, the Chief Rabbi, the Presbyterian Moderator, the heads of the Baptist, Anabaptist, Methodist, and Moravian chapels, and the Honorary Secretary of the Society of Friends. After them march the guilds and trades and train bands with flying colours, coopers, bird fanciers, millwrights, newspaper canvassers, law scriveners, masseurs, vintners, trust makers, chimney sweeps, lard refiners, tabinet and poplin weavers, farriers, Italian warehousemen, church decorators, boot-jack manufacturers, undertakers, silk mercers, lapidaries, salesmasters, cork cutters, assessors of fire losses, dyers and cleaners, export bottlers, fellmongers, ticket writers, heraldic seal engravers, horse repository hands, bullion brokers, cricket and archery outfitters, riddle makers, egg and potato factors, hosiers and glovers, plumbing contractors. After them march gentlemen of the bedchamber, Blackrod, Deputy Godder, Goldstick, the Master of Horse, the Lord Great Chamberlain, the Earl Marshal, the High Constable carrying the sword of state, St. Stephen's iron crown, the chalice and Bible. 4 buglers on foot blow a senate. Beefeaters reply, winding clarions of welcome. Under an arch of triumph, Bloom appears, bareheaded, in a crimson velvet mantle trimmed with ermine, bearing St. Edward's staff, the orb and sceptre with the dove, the curtana. He is seated on a milk-white horse with long flowing crimson tail, richly caparisoned with golden headstall. Wild excitement. The ladies from their balconies throw down rose petals. The air is perfumed with essences. The men cheer. Bloom's boys run amid the bystanders with branches of hawthorn and wren bushes. Bloom's boys. The wren, the king of all birds. St. Stephen's his day was caught in the furs. A blacksmith murmurs, for the honour of God. And is that Bloom? He scarcely looks 31. A pavior and flagger. That's the famous Bloom now, the world's greatest reformer. Hats off! All uncover their heads. Women whisper eagerly. A millionairess, richly. Isn't he simply wonderful? A noblewoman, nobly. All that man has seen. A feminist, masculinely. And done. A bell-hanger, a classic face. He has the forehead of a thinker. Bloom's weather, a sunburst appears in the northwest. The Bishop of Down and Connor, I here present your undoubted Emperor President and King Chairman, the most serene and potent and very puissant ruler of this realm. God save Leopold the First. All, God save Leopold the First. Bloom, in dalmatic and purple mantle, to the Bishop of Down and Connor with dignity. Thanks, somewhat eminent sir. William, Archbishop of Armagh, in purple stock and shovel hat. Will you, to the power, cause, law, and mercy to be executed in all your judgments in Ireland and territories thereunto belonging? Bloom, placing his right hand on his testicles, swears, so may the Creator deal with me. All this I promise to do. Michael, Archbishop of Armagh, pours a cruse of hair oil over Bloom's head. Gaudium magnum annuntio vobis, habemus carneficem. Leopold, Patrick, Andrew, David, George, be thou anointed. Bloom assumes a mantle of cloth of gold and puts on a ruby ring. He ascends and stands on the stone of destiny. The representative peers put on the same time their 28 crowns. Joy bells ring in Christ Church, St. Patrick's, George's, and Gay Malahide. Myra's bizarre fireworks go up from all sides with symbolical pyrotechnic designs. The peers do homage one by one, approaching and genuflecting. The peers, I do become your liege man of life and limb to earthly worship. Bloom holds up his right hand, on which sparkles the Koh-i-Noor diamond. His palfrey neighs. Immediate silence. Witness intercontinental and interplanetary transmitters are set for reception of message. Bloom. My subjects, we hereby nominate our faithful charger Copula Felix, hereditary Grand Vizier, and announce that we have this day repudiated our former spouse and have bestowed our royal hand upon the Princess Celine, the splendor of night. The former morganatic spouse of Bloom is hastily removed in the Black Maria. The Princess Celine, in moon-blue robes, a silver crescent on her head, descends from a sedan chair, borne by 2 giants. An outburst of cheering. John Howard Parnell raises the royal standard. Illustrious Bloom, successor to my famous brother. Bloom embraces John Howard Parnell. We thank you from our heart, John, for the right royal welcome to Green Arran, the promised land of our common ancestors. The freedom of the city is presented to him embodied in a charter, the keys of Dublin crossed on a crimson cushion are given to him. He shows all that he is wearing green socks. Tom Kernan. You deserve it, Your Honor. Bloom. On this day, 20 years ago, we overcame the hereditary enemy at Ladysmith. Our howitzers and camel swivel guns played on his lines with telling effect. Half a league onward, they charge. All is lost now. Do we yield? No. We drive them headlong. Lo, we charge. Deploying to the left, your light horse swept from the heights of Plevna and uttering their war cry, Bona fide, Sabaoth, sabered the Saracen gunners to a man. The Chapel of Freeman typesetters. Here, here! John Wise Nolan. There's the man that got away, James Stevens. A blue-coat schoolboy. Bravo! An old resident. You're a credit to your country, sir. That's what you are. An apple woman. He's like a man like Ireland wants. Bloom. My beloved subjects, a new era is about to dawn. I, Bloom, tell you verily, it is even now at hand. Yea, on the word of a Bloom, ye shall ere long enter into the golden city, which is to be the new Bloomusalem, in the Nova Hibernia of the future. 32 workmen wearing rosettes from all the counties of Ireland, under the guidance of Derwin the Builder, construct the new Bloomusalem. It is a colossal edifice with crystal roof, built in the shape of a huge pork kidney containing 40,000 rooms. In the course of its extension, several buildings and monuments are demolished. Government offices are temporarily transferred to railway sheds. Numerous houses are razed to the ground. The inhabitants are lodged in barrels and boxes, all marked in red with the letters L.B. Several paupers fall from a ladder. A part of the walls of Dublin, crowded with loyal sightseers, collapses. The sightseers, dying. Morituri te salutant. They die. A man in a brown mackintosh springs up through a trap door. He points an elongated finger at Bloom. The man in the mackintosh. Don't you believe a word he says. That man is Leopold M'Intosh, the notorious fire raiser. His real name is Higgins. Bloom. Shoot him, dog of a Christian. So much for Matosh. A cannon shot. The man in the mackintosh disappears. Bloom with his scepter strikes down poppies. The instantaneous deaths of many powerful enemies, graziers, members of parliament, members of the standing committees are reported. Bloom's bodyguard distribute Maundy money, commemoration medals, loaves and fishes, temperance badges, expensive Henry Clay cigars, free cow bones for soup, rubber preservatives in sealed envelopes tied with gold thread, butterscotch, pineapple rock, billets doux in the form of cocked hats, ready-made suits, porringers of toad in the hole, bottles of J.A.'s fluid purchase stamps, 40 days indulgences, spurious coins, dairy-fed pork sausage, theatre passes, season tickets available for all tram lines, coupons of the Royal and Privileged Hungarian Lottery, penny dinner counters, cheap reprints of the world's 12 worst books, Froggy and Fritz, Politic, Care of the Baby, Infantilic, 50 meals for 7-6, Kulinik, Was Jesus a Sun Myth? Historic, Expel That Pain, Medic, Infant's Compendium of the Universe, Cosmic, Let's All Chortle, Hilaric, Canvassers Vade Mecum, Journalic, Love Letters of Mother Assistant, Erotic, Who's Who in Space, Asterisk, Songs That Reach Over Our Heart, Melodic, Pennywise's Way to Wealth, Parsimonic, A General Russian Scramble, women press forward to touch the hem of Bloom's robe. The Lady Gwendolen Dubedat bursts through the throng, leaps on his horse, and kisses him on both cheeks amid great acclamation. A magnesium flashlight photograph is taken. Babes and sucklings are held up. The women, little father, little father. The babes and sucklings, clap, clap hands till Poldy comes home. Cakes in his pocket for Leo alone. Bloom, bending down, pokes baby Boardman gently in the stomach. Baby Boardman hiccups, curdled milk flowing from his mouth. Ha 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 ha! Shaking hands with a blind stripling. My more than brother, placing his arms around the shoulders of an old couple. Dear old friends. He plays Pussy Four Corners with ragged boys and girls. Peep, bo peep. He wheels twins in a perambulator. Tic-tac-toe, would you use to your shoe? He performs juggler's tricks, draws red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet silk handkerchiefs from his mouth. Roig Biv, 32 per second. He consoles a widow. Absence makes the heart grow younger. He dances the Highland fling with grotesque antics. Leg it, ye devils! He kisses the bedsores of a palsied veteran. Honourable wounds. He trips up a fat policeman. You pee up! You pee up! He whispers in the ear of a blushing waitress and laughs kindly. Ah, naughty, naughty. He eats a raw turnip offered him by Maurice Butterley, farmer. Fine, splendid. He refuses to accept 3 shillings offered him by Joseph Hines, journalist. My dear fellow, not at all. He gives his coat to a beggar. Please accept. He takes part in a stomach race with elderly male and female cripples. Come on, boys, wriggle it, girls. The citizen, choked with emotion, brushes aside a tear in his emerald muffler. May the good God bless him. The ram's horns sound for silence. The standard of Zion is hoisted. Bloom uncloaks impressively, revealing obesity, unrolls a paper and reads solemnly. Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Daleth, Haggadah, Tefillim, Kosher, Yom Kippur, Hanukkah, Rosh Hashanah, Beni Birth, Bar Mitzvah, Mazel, Askanazim, Meshuggah, Talith. An official translation is read by Jimmy Henry, Assistant Town Clerk. Jimmy Henry. The Court of Conscience is now open. His Most Catholic Majesty will now administer open-air justice, free medical and legal advice, solution of doubles and other problems. All cordially invited, given at this, our loyal city of Dublin, in the year 1 of the paradisical era. Paddy Leonard. What am I to do about my rates and taxes? Bloom. Pay them, my friend. Paddy Leonard. Thank you. Nosy Flynn. Can I raise a mortgage on my fire insurance? Bloom, obdurately. Sirs, take notice that by the law of torts you are bound over in your own recognizances for 6 months in the sum of £5. J.J. O'Malloy. A Daniel, did I say? Nay, a Peter O'Brien. Nosy Flynn. Where do I draw the £5? Pisser Burke. For bladder trouble? Bloom. Acid nit hydrochlor dil, 20 minims. Tinct nux vom, 5 minims. Extra tarexel lic, 30 minims. Ac dis ter indai. Chris Callanan. What is the parallax of the subsolar ecliptic of Aldebaran? Bloom. Pleased to hear from you, Chris K. 11. Joe Hines. Why aren't you uniform? Bloom. When my progenitor of sainted memory wore the uniform of the Austrian despot in a dank prison, where was yours? Ben Dullard. Pansies? Bloom. Embellish, beautify, suburban gardens. Ben Dullard. When twins arrive? Bloom. Father, pater dad, starts thinking. Larry O'Rourke. An 8-day license for my new premises. You remember me, Sir Leo, when you were in number 7. I'm sending around a dozen of stout for the missus. Bloom. Coldly. You have the advantage of me. Lady Bloom accepts no presents. Crofton. This is indeed a festivity. Bloom, solemnly. You call it a festivity. I call it a sacrament. Alexander Keyes. When will we have our own house of keys? Bloom. I stand for the reform of municipal morals and the plain 10 commandments. New worlds for old, union of all, Jew, Muslim, and Gentile. 3 acres and a cow for all children of nature. Saloon, motor, hearses. Compulsory manual labor for all parks open to the public day and night. Electric dish scrubbers. Tuberculosis, lunacy, war, and mendicancy must now cease. General amnesty, weekly carnival with masked license, bonuses for all, Esperanto, the universal language with universal brotherhood. No more patriotism of bar spongers and dropsicle impostors. Free money, free rent, free love, and a free lay church in a free lay state. O'Madden Burke. Free fox in a free hen hoost. David Byrne, yawning. Bloom. Mixed races and mixed marriage. Lenehan. What about mixed bathing? Bloom explains to those near him his schemes for social regeneration. All agree with him. The keeper of the Kildare Street Museum appears, dragging a lorry on which are the shaking statues of several naked goddesses. Venus, Callipyge, Venus, Pandemos, Venus, Metempsychosis, and plaster figures also naked representing the new 9 muses: commerce, operatic music, amour, publicity, manufacture, liberty of speech, plural voting, gastronomy, private hygiene, seaside concert entertainments, painless obstetrics, and astronomy for the people.